Friends, we have a red alert that we need to talk about, and this is super, super important. We've been talking a lot about what's been happening with the food networks, with our supply chain, and this is going to impact our supply chains dramatically. The question is are you going to go along with this? Are you going to be okay with this? Now, I know the title and thumbnail and stuff like that are talking about the need to stop buying chicken. And that is going to be absolutely true in a short little bit, possibly. Now, depending on where you stand on this, perhaps you're going to hear this and you're going to be like, I'm okay with that. That's cool. And if that's so, then maybe this isn't going to be quite so important to you. But I know most of you are going to be like, oh no, absolutely not. I'm not going along with that. And when that happens, you're going to possibly have a much, much reduced opportunity to purchase chicken that doesn't have this in it. We need to talk about this. This is big news. And yes, it's happening under the Trump administration. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm talking about things that get me into trouble here all the time. And this video is, well, let's just say it's one of those videos. I'm going to be very careful about what I say, and I'm still probably going to get in a whole bunch of trouble for it. So I'd just like to ask all of you to hit that like button, please, and throw a comment up underneath of it just to try to help keep balancing off this algorithm that's going to absolutely hate this video. We're going to talk about DNA. We're going to talk about things that alter that. And we're going to talk about chicken, the bird flu, chicken, and eggs. Yes, we're going to talk about all that. All right, so the Trump administration has said that they are very upset with what's happening with the massive amounts of bird culling. Now they're still trying to figure out exactly what to do about it, but they've taken one step. Now, part of this is like, how much of this is the Trump administration? How much is this the administration under Trump that's doing this without necessarily getting approval at the highest levels? It appears that this has gotten at least some approval at the highest levels for it to get here. They have approved the poke for bird flu for chickens. And we're not talking about traditional juice. We're talking about the stuff that rewrites who you are. They've approved that for chickens. Now, if you go to the store and you just buy chicken, if you go to the store and you just buy eggs, which I know for this audience is most of you. Some of you raise your own chickens. Some of you guys raise your own eggs. More of you raise your own eggs than raise your own chickens because that's more work and it's more involved. Raising eggs is not so bad. I mean, it's been there, done that, right? So with that in mind, the issue is that they're getting these positive tests for bird flu in these massive warehouses filled and stuffed full of chickens, or Franken chickens. Chickens that have been so genetically modified that, you know, are they really chickens anymore? That's a whole nother conversation right there. But they have approved the Zoetis poke for chickens. It's a conditional approval to use by the FDA. I'm sorry, by the USDA. And it does work like the poke for humans for the cough. It's that new variation where it goes in and rewrites who you are at the fundamental level. It is a virus. It goes in and edits things. Now, like I said, some of you are going to hear that and you're going to go, it's my chicken, it's my eggs. If it's not fully a chicken anymore, as long as it's still made up of protein and fats and made up of all the good stuff, it's dead anyway. Because all the DNA truly does die, right? Before you eat it, unless you're eating a live chicken, or if you're eating a chicken that's in the shell alive, generally speaking, it's dead when you consume it, okay? And that means all the cells are dead, all the DNA is dead. So there is that. But how does this potentially change the nutrients inside the chicken and inside the eggs? We already know that chickens that free range out in, eating bugs and leaves and grass and all the things that chickens eat, if they free range outside, that is different. Fundamentally, the eggs are composed of different things. I mean, everyone who's ever had a free-range chicken egg, it tastes different. Everyone who's had beef in other countries knows that it tastes different because it's something different. The corn-fed, factory-made beef in the United States, okay, as good as it tastes, let's be honest about what it is. I mean, the pink slime that you get in a tube at Walmart is not exactly the same stuff as you get grass-fed ground beef from, a local butcher. It's a different thing, okay? It looks different, it smells different, it tastes different, texture, all that, completely different. And when you go around the world, you find that the beef and other meats around the world also have a very local flavor, depending on what the animals eat. So, what happens when you poke the chickens and change not only what they eat, but change who they are or what they are? Is that going to change the taste? Is that going to change the macronutrients? Is that going to, I don't know that it's going to poison us, but then again, are we sure it's not going to? So these things are viruses, and there's the question of how long do they live on? How long does the viruses live on inside the chickens after they're culled or butchered, turn into some fajitas for us, or for us to scramble up? Now, heat does destroy those things, right? Generally speaking, depending on what level of heat we're talking about, but generally, if you cook it and you're not eating it semi-raw or raw, then you should be generally all right. But there are plenty of people who go to the store, get their cartons of eggs, and then they eat the eggs raw, or they make cookie dough and eat the cookie dough raw. Who here has done that? Who here eats the cookie dough raw sometimes, right? Most of us are guilty of that, right? Except for those who just don't make cookies. But we have this new stuff that's going to be injected into the food supply system that hasn't fully been tested. We don't know everything about it, but we're consoling ourselves with the idea that this is going into our food. It's not going into us. It is one step removed from it going into us, but remember they were talking about editing humans by what we eat. They wanted to put the medicines in the food so that they didn't need to actually sell us the pills and stuff like that, but rather that the food becomes the medicine. And not in the sense of like, ooh, it's high quality food and has all the nutrients that we need, and it really encourages our immune system and all that kind of stuff. No, they mean actually putting medications and person editing stuff into our food in such a way that it gets into us. Now, they were talking about doing that in lettuce. They were talking about doing that in like vegetables that you don't cook. But that does make people like me, and I imagine a lot of people like you, thinking about like, I don't like them messing with my food, especially with things that are experimental and things that are rewriting the coding of what things are. So, like I said, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has given Zoetis a conditional approval to use the pokey for the chickens. Now, how long until we're going to get a bird flu pokey for the cows? You better believe that's coming. They are sitting on their computers coding this new molecule that they're going to be giving the cows. And that's going to work its way into our food system. Through the cows and through the milk, through the beef and the milk. It's going to get into our food system through the chicken and through the eggs. Are you paying attention yet? The pharmaceutical industry is not going out without a fight. And it is very concerning to me, and I know to a lot of other people who are like, how can Trump be duped like this? Isn't he against all this stuff? Now, one of the questions we're going to be seeing here is RFK going to be like, no, you can't do that to our food? That's not, is he going to defend us? Is Make America Healthy Again going to stand up to Trump when he starts repeating basically what somebody has told him that is going to fundamentally change our food system and the healthiness level of Americans? Or is it going to just be a bunch of platitudes? Is Make America Healthy Again a real thing that's going to have real teeth and real application from the biggest threats that we ever have, which is those companies, those same companies that threatened us before, are there trying to do it again. We got the bird flu pokey for humans. It's the old school one. Okay, now countries around the world are stocking up on this like nobody's business, but it's the old school one, right? It's inactivated virus that's being stuck in you, inactivated. And it's not a designed virus to do something to you, to change your coding. Now, they're working on that, and believe me, when they get it done, we're going to start hearing a lot more about this bird flu when they start trying to force it on us. Because we're still having too many babies as a species for a bunch of these people who are trying to change the way humans behave by changing the inputs. Now, they've tried to do that through information only. They've tried to do that. They started there. If we can control the information that goes into a person through the television, the media, the entertainment, then we can control the decisions that they make. But now they've said, okay, well, we're controlling the decisions somewhat that they make, and they're still not feeling like they're fully in control now. But they want to make us more compliant. They want to make us so that we are going to be receptive to what they want to do to us. And that means they have to break down our healthiness. If we're too healthy, then our brains are still intact. Our brains are still able to function. Who here would say that your brain feels foggier than it did 5 years ago? When you sit down and try to think things through, is it harder now than it used to be? Now, some of that's probably age, but I wonder how much of that, because I've talked to a whole bunch of people, and a lot of people say the very same thing. It's just like, I just can't concentrate as much as I used to be able to. I used to be able to read more. I used to be able to think more. Our conversations with people used to be deeper. Now it's just more surface level kind of stuff. And part of that's the degradation of culture, especially in the United States and other countries in the West. But it also is possibly what's happening in our food supply system. People getting the poke, okay, but also other things. People getting a lot more pokes than what they used to. And there's a whole conversation about that and side effects that the government says there are none. And then when there are lawsuits, then they say, okay, there actually are some. And yeah, okay, we need to pay out billions of dollars in damages because there are, side effects that the government has said that there wasn't. And then courts show that there actually were through evidence and scientific study and doctors who actually doctor instead of just play politics, right? So we have all this happening. And fundamentally, Americans and many people in the West across the board are not as healthy in body and in mind as they used to be. And it makes people more compliant. Let's just put it out that way. If you tried to push a lot of the stuff that's happening nowadays and in the last 4, 8, 10 years, if you put that in front of people from the 1980s in the United States or the 1970s, like, this stuff would be a non-starter. Now, partly, once again, that's degradation of culture and just how we've moved as a country. But I also fundamentally believe that we are different people, different religious values, different moral codes, but then also, more than that, we also have physical changes that have happened to us. So let's get back to the matter of hand here. So we're going to be seeing, unless something changes, we're going to start seeing the poke rolled out for chickens, poultry. That's the answer to the egg shortage. The crisis is the egg shortage. The answer to this crisis, the opportunity from the deep state, is to get this into our chickens, all of our chickens across the board. If we can get this poke into there, then that will be another step forward. For you and I, what does that mean for us? Well, one, it means that there's going to be, it's going to be harder to find chickens that don't have the pokey in the future. So if you want to keep your pure blood status, you're going to need to watch what you're eating in the near future. So, with that said, chicken is relatively cheap right now. So, pressure canning up a whole lot of chicken might be a good move. Getting into your own meat birds or going in with other people on meat birds. So, raising your own chickens or partnering with other people to raise chickens for you guys might be a thing to do. Controlling your food production, or to just stockpile enough chicken that was pre-poke so that you are set for the next bunch of years. Those are the two options I'd really see before us. Or perhaps you're just like, Steve, I think you're overreacting. I think the other people are overreacting. This isn't that big of a deal. It'll be fine. And if that's your position on it, well, then I don't know why you're 17 minutes into this video, but appreciate you're here, right? We're just trying to give you guys information on this kind of stuff. We're going to hear more about exactly what kind of testing they've actually done, which is minimal from what I gather, because it going into birds has a much lower threshold than getting it into people. And we're going to also have to look into more how much of this could potentially spill over from chickens into people. How much effect could this possibly have? We don't know yet, because nobody's tried to do this kind of insane Frankenstein science experimentation on a national scale before. But they're doing it right now. I want you to be aware of that and give you guys a heads up. So if you're anything like me, you're going to want to probably start stockpiling some chicken and continue stockpiling those eggs, because once again, this is also going to impact all the egg layers out there as well. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.